Welcome, guys. This is my favorite part, obviously. It's a panel discussion. Let me first introduce our amazing guests. So let's start, of course, with the ladies. So we've got Veena Sidhu, a strategy and innovation consultant with over 15 years of experience. We have met at Mind Valley. Some of you guys know that. And Veena right now is working with different companies as a fractional COO, sometimes as fractional CMO, and she's using AI a lot. So I think she's going to share some cool tips, especially coming from smaller e-commerce businesses and medium e-commerce businesses. So I think this will be very useful. Then we've got Chris Wojewodzic. He's a CEO of Escola, which is one of the Europe's fastest growing companies. He has experience of over 20, he has experience of many years working with different businesses, and he's working with AI and AI research for years. So this is really, I think this will be very interesting to hear your perspective, because you're coming a little bit more from the IT background. We are marketers here, so I think this is where these two worlds will actually blend. We've got Bartek Dobrowolski, who's head of AI Enablement at CampusAI Polska, which is actually one of the most founded startups in our region recently. And that's probably because it's supposed to share the knowledge about how humans should work effectively with AI. And Bartek himself is actually helping different businesses to implement AI solutions, to engage employees around the topics, and to actually create innovation based on that. And finally, we've got Marcin Bruś, who's, I think I can share that Marcin is one of my mentors for years already, so I'm very happy he's finally joining us here. But obviously, he's head of advertising at Allegro, which is, it's for those of you guys who are not from Poland, Allegro is like Polish Amazon. It's the biggest marketplace in our region. And before Marcin was involved with Facebook, he was involved with Procter & Gamble at managerial and executive roles. And he's really into building high-performing teams and really driving business success through building really good teams and good collaborations. So yeah, that's enough about you guys. Let's dive into the discussion because I think that's very interesting for everyone. So first question to you guys. So there is a lot of misconceptions around what AI can do and what it can't. So I really want to hear you out. I mean, we just had like three short sessions coming from employees of Try47 and founder of Sublime. They were showing like how like we're using AI in different contexts of e-commerce businesses, like performance marketing, ad creation, analytics. There's many other contexts, but I want to hear your opinion. Like, what are the misconceptions versus reality? Like, what are you hearing from different businesses and different people, and what's your take on it? Yeah, you can, whoever wants to start. Bartek, we can't hear you.
You are not muted, but we cannot hear you.
Yeah. For some reason, we can't hear you. Even though you're not muted. Okay, let's have Bartek figure it out. Oh, we can hear you.
Speakers. Is it okay right now?
Yeah,
better, much better.
So okay. Technology failed us again, right? Very good intro. The AI discussion.
They just didn't work. Okay, anyway, so we're talking about artificial intelligence and we cannot manage our basic equipment. But anyway, so first of all, thank you very much for having me here. And it's a great honor being with you guys. I've been working with AI since, I don't know, like maybe 5-6 years when I joined the team supporting commercial real estate industry that was digitizing at the time. And in the meantime, I shifted towards AI enablement, which means that I'm helping organizations in the transitional processes. So I hear very often what are the misconceptions and misbeliefs in terms of AI deployment and usage. And I think the most common one, I'm really curious, what do you think about, is that AI will eventually replace human, will eventually replace people in our teams. This is something that makes people worried. I mean, the operational stuff, and it gives some management some vague promise of great savings, that they will be able to replace very cost-consuming teams and people with algorithms. And this is not true. For several, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years, we will not be able to replace as many people as management level will hope to. But we will
That's
definitely.
already bad that managers hope to, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, in CampusAI, we are not even allowed to say this. We during our public presence, we are not even allowed in our brand book and code of ethics. We are not allowed even to say anything about replacing people with AI, just not to leave in at the trace of uncertainty. Because we all here at CampusAI believe that AI can deliver superpowers to your team rather than replace people. And I know that you can find a lot of mentions in technology news and even in the mainstream news that some companies decided to get rid of some people that were doing some redundant, simple, and repetitive work. But most of the time, that would help even without help of that would happen even without help of AI, because even simple algorithms and systems are now able to replace repetitive and simple tasks. AI, however, will deliver incredible power of huge amount of data analysis, hyper personalization, and support for everyday tasks for people who are now most of the time overwhelmed with the number of tasks they have to do in their everyday work, which in fact proves, was proven by Microsoft Work Trend Index. This is the report they make every year, stating that almost 70% of people in Poland, because they make it regionally and in particular countries, and they made it in Poland. So 68%, as far as I remember, of respondents to the survey declared that they are overwhelmed with the work they are doing right now. If it goes for the number of systems they have to log in and use and integrate the data and move the data from one to another. So AI will help them just be more effective, and will allow them do things that they were not available for them before the language models were populated. So this is the first misconception, and I will not continue right now. Just to
yeah, I wanted to say,
AI will not replace people. It will replace some very easy replaceable, even without AI, jobs. But if it goes for e-commerce, sales, retail, we need human interaction most of the time. Some things might be optimized, but the relation will have to be built by humans to humans interactions.
Thank you, Bartek. That was a really powerful intro. So let's give space for other panelists. Do you guys have anything to add when it comes to the misconceptions? Something that I think the one about AI replacing humans is something that I also hear a lot, but maybe you guys heard something else which is interesting to add. Veena?
I think, first of all, hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I'm learning so much, and I'm excited to learn more. Just playing off the AI replaces humans, I think the other myth is AI is perfect and AI doesn't make mistakes. So just as you need a human being to kind of work with AI, and it doesn't actually replace a job. AI kind of enhances or speeds up productivity and efficiency in some ways. AI is going to make mistakes, so you do need a qualified, educated, and informed individual supervising that and catching those mistakes, because mistakes definitely happen.
Totally. Anything else, Chris, Marcin, something that you want to add?
So let me actually wrap up what Veena and Bartosz said, but more in the bigger picture. What is actually work? What is actually e-commerce marketing? So to do any campaign, you basically need to do planning, execution, and then checking your results.
Yeah.
And very often we think that it's plug and play. So you basically put some super complex tool and then the job is done. But what LLMs and other classic or modern, so Gen AI, are very poor at is planning and checking results. That's what we are missing. That's why we are talking about agents so much currently. Because the job to be done is actually planning, executing, controlling. And planning and controlling, AI is very poor at. So what I'm actually most to work as is doing much more complex projects, something over 2 million euro. And so that's how we try to cover these three parts. And most of the people want the plug and play, and they cover the medium part, which is execution. And definitely we can streamline sometimes by 10%, sometimes 10x. That is amazing. And sometimes people come into some solution and wow, this streamlined my work 2 times, 3 times. Amazing. But how can we truly redesign whole process? And that's what we are, I think also we should consider in terms of 5-10 years. Can we actually redesign the process? So it's actually, I believe actually the far future is bots talking to bots. That's the far-fetched future that we are heading to agents. So like now all the banks, telecoms, they have their agents, right? How about every one of us has an agent for all the different tasks, for like what Google showed many times ago, like ordering a table at the restaurant, but up to negotiating your new deal. Agents to agents replacing lawyers, or marketing things so that you buy and sell. Agents negotiate the deals. Now only big corporations can out because it's super hardcore and super expensive to train. So I'm just leaving you with this thought: what is that 10 plus years future that we are heading to with actually replacing humans?
We're gonna get to this question actually. It's my last one, obviously, about the future. Marcin, looking from the perspective of a huge corporation, like a biggest marketplace, like I'm sure people are talking a lot about AI. Like we're gonna jump into the next question about differences between big and small companies. But are there any misconceptions that you're dealing with, or you have to deal with when it comes to your team, or I don't know, suppliers?
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thanks for having me here. I don't think the misconceptions happen internally, but I think it's still not everything is commonly internalized yet. So one of the things that may occasionally pop up is that this is kind of feature or set of features that needs to be plugged in, and voila, and we are done. Of course, it's not the case. It's the more we see the opportunity, the more we understand, the clearer it gets that it's more of a mindset and a kind of transformation that unlocks the focus more on the opportunities than on threats. And I see in large companies, there's so much built on data, the opportunity like I discovered like every month. And there is increased clarity among more senior leaderships that this is not really something that is a function of dedicated teams. It's more a lens that each team needs to look at, because the amount of things like productivity improvements, performance improvements, and even employees' engagements, opportunity to remove this part of work that is boring to tears is hugely important. Just one of the examples. In my team, we have a team where we have data engineers, data analysts, and we also work with the machine learning friends. things like reporting of big campaigns of big advertisers is not, sometimes it's not the most riveting part of the work. It's much more fun to draw conclusions from the reports. So these things can take hours. So we have automated many of these things. The simple example is we're able to save 1,300 hours a month of the most boring part of work, because you just press the button and a few minutes later you have a really good looking, nearly complete report. And this is where you can work on the strategy part, which obviously many people prefer to focus on. And there are, of course, more examples.
That nicely ties to the presentation that Arek did in the beginning of this event, where he was showing that there's certain tasks around the data analysis where AI can really help. And usually a lot of the time of analyst comes into the data organization. It's what you just said, like just creating tables that you can draw conclusions from. And AI still doesn't draw the best conclusions. They still will not do the budget split for your next campaign, but they can organize this data, and that saves tons of hours that none of the data analysts really want to do, because organizing the columns is just the worst, most boring part of the job, right? So that's really cool. But let's jump into the next question. So we have here perspective of different organizations, big and small, and I think this is very interesting for me, like how different sizes and different types of companies really approach using AI tools internally, or having the whole teams starting to use, test, experiment. Like, what's the differences? How is there a difference? Because I don't know. There's maybe more pressure around security of data, or maybe there's more pressure around having something like perfectly tested or bulletproof. Like, what are you observing when it comes to smaller and bigger organizations? Like, how does it change? I don't know, Marcin, maybe you can start, because you're in this big organization. How easy is it to test new tools?
And of course, if you're a public company, of course, you need to be obsessed about security and privacy. So one of the
banking and finance.
And for good reasons. Everyone probably read about the article that some excessively enthusiastic employees of Samsung in the early days of ChatGPT tried to work smart, and all this learning happened too fast. And if you are too hasty in using tools and sharing sensitive information, the models can learn too quickly and things you don't want them to learn. And it's not really easy to make them unlearn things, which few people know about. So we have our internal custom tools, and we also are selective in using external tools. And this adoption, I think that one of the things that really accelerate the adoption of thinking is just to change the habits gradually. So the more you start using tools, even very basic, like summarizing meetings, writing emails, finishing, correcting, these little tiny things drive enthusiasm and show that there is no threat here. This is a major opportunity. And then, of course, going to way more advanced things, up to things like multi-objective optimization of algorithms, which is ultimately what can really be at the very heart of what my team is doing in monetization. How can you benefit not only for Allegro, but also for the sellers and also for the consumers? And in fact, what seemed to be incredibly challenging just a couple of months ago, we proved can be done. So you can have, for example, the search results that are both relevant, that also monetize well, and also are improving ROAS for the sellers. And this is where you can see that we unlock the Disneyland of data.
Cool. Bartek, you were saying something. I know we had a discussion about it when we had our call last week.
Yeah, I mean, you mean, okay, so I would like to relate to what you just guys said, but I believe that last year, observing our customers, and we work both with big corporations like Nationale Nederlanden, ING, T-Mobile, Orange, and small companies, that last year everyone was talking about, is it just a momentary trend? it's just, like a fireworks. It just popped up. Maybe it will gather some money from investors and then maybe disappear, just like blockchain stuff, virtual reality, augmented reality, hybrid work supported with newer technologies and 3D cameras and stuff like that. And I think the main concern in both small, medium, and big companies was whether we should invest in it at all or just observe. And maybe if it will work somewhere, we'll just follow. Then I noticed that some companies started investing and implementing AI tools, both small and big ones. And then the main concern was hallucinations. How much we can let the steering wheel go and what will happen. I mean, how much we have to observe the algorithms in their actions and operations, and how much control do we have to still have over the results. And now the main subject is compliance, governance, and security, just like you mentioned. Yeah. And because the question was, what's the difference between implementation of the big and small companies? When you take a look at these three concerns and three elements, you will see that the smaller ones, they have less problems with building a proper mindset in their employees, educating them if it goes for consequences of improperly using artificial intelligence, of security issues. It's way easier to implement and test and evaluate, like make some proof of concept implementations of different, and there's hundreds and thousands of new applications and new software tools that use generative artificial intelligence, because we have to call it generative artificial intelligence, but the whole revolution is based on generative AI and not AI, which was present with us for years. So one thing is, it's easier to reach out to all your people and just send them a message, hey guys, this is secure, this is unsecure, these are consequences. Second thing is budget-wise decisions, because big companies have bigger budgets, so they not only could use things like Chat, Perplexity, or Claude, but they can invest in implementing and integrating these LLM models into their core systems like CRMs and business process management tools, and make it make the AI streamline their operations. And the third thing, I think, is bureaucracy. So in most cases, the bigger companies need more time to process all the agreements, papers, procedures, all the compliance and governance stuff, which makes it more difficult to implement the tools. But on the other hand, there's so much cheap and very effective tools on the market that they became available for the small companies, easy to implement by just, attaching your credit card to an account and just buying 5 tools, 5 chat GPTs, Perplexity, or some social media post generators, give it to your team, and instantly jump on a totally different level of efficiency, and being able to compete with the big ones, which very often hear now that the small companies, they say AI is a chance for us to be competitive to the biggest players on the market, because with the very agile and fast paced team, having the superpowers coming from AI tools make us more competitive to the biggest ones who are so slow in implementing and adopting technology because of bureaucracy and security issues, educational problems, and stuff like that.
I like that perspective, having my heart with the small ones. When online advertising became so popular and accessible, that I think was the first revolution, for example, for small e-commerce businesses to start competing, right, with big brands. Now this. Okay, Chris, Veena, like, what's your take on it? Like, Veena, you work with smaller, medium, like similar, like as Stripe. We work with many companies at the launch stage. Like, what's your take? Like, how easy it is with the companies that you work with?
Well, at the stage that I'm at with some of the businesses that I'm working with, it's really just enhancing speed and enhancing creativity. So I can give you two scenarios. For me personally, as a COO, some of the things that I have to do quite a bit is sometimes go through contracts and look at legal policies and agreements. And sometimes I have to, draft pitches on behalf of a CEO. So something like ChatGPT and getting on a paid plan for ChatGPT can become really easy in that regard because, I can sometimes even if I don't understand a clause in a contract, I can put that in ChatGPT and easily I can be like, well, what is this clause actually trying to say versus going through my lawyer and paying my lawyer by the hour or whatever retainer they're on to answer that question, get a very simple answer, and then I could be like, okay, well, I don't want it to say that, I want it to say this, and then it would draft the clause for me, and then I would just go back to the person I was negotiating with and I'd be like, change the clause to this, and it would be one of those things that make things very easy. Sometimes I do it to do very quick math, even like someone, if I've got to put a payment plan together for someone, I'm like, do this quick math and what would it be like with the interest rate. Those are some of those things. But I've recently really started to enjoy Claude because we were in a scenario where we were ramping up a lot of our marketing efforts and unfortunately had to lose our copywriter. And so, if you're in a situation where you already have had a lot of copywriting done in the past, a lot of marketing copywriting done from sales pages that exist or opt-in pages that exist, lots of emails that you produced over the years, and suddenly your great copywriter is not around anymore. And also that one human being could not churn out double the work in X amount of time. Generally, you now have got a system like Claude where you can just upload all of that as as reference. And then you go, now I need you to draft this like this. But again, going back to the importance of having and someone who's with a specialized skill and the expertise of marketing being able to look at that and give the right prompts, the right briefs, be able to analyze and give the right feedback, that becomes very important. And the other thing is if someone already is a productivity and an efficiency hacker, then you start to come up with processes or SOPs that you can now start to create, and then you feed that to the AI so that the AI, you don't have to keep repeating the same prompts all the time. So some of the things that I would do is in Claude, for example, every marketing task is a project. So every individual webinar is a project on its own. Every time we have to write a new lead capture, that becomes a new project of its own. And you can upload things into the knowledge base, but I start to create a document that is like a living document to me. So I'm always adding to it. And it's like rules for the AI, don't do this. Don't use these words. Make sure you change things up. Here are some tips. And so every time I start a new project, I have a document called Tips for Claude, and I'll upload it for Claude, and I'm follow my tips and instructions. And sometimes it gets fun. Claude doesn't listen, and I'll scold Claude. I'm like, you got it wrong, Claude. And Claude is like, I'm so sorry. But
that's exactly what you do, and when you have to bootstrap a bit in the smaller businesses, right?
Correct.
That's a very different story than I think when you're working in corporation and moving pieces on. Chris, do you have anything to add when it comes to smaller and bigger businesses perspective on the AI implementation?
Yeah, I'm becoming a sum up guy in this discussion. So I would say there are 3 key features. First one is complexity of the data. Naturally, in big corporations, you have many sources of the data, many types of the data. So I remember talking recently with ING and asked them, what approach do you prefer, data lakes or data warehouse? And the CTO just laughed and said, naturally, we adopt both of the approaches because we have so many data. Some of them are structured, some of them are not. Second thing, is safety and security. Of course, for large corporation, you cannot risk the percentage of the fine you would get if some of the data would be breached. And the third one would be off-the-shelf solutions for small companies, and big companies can actually afford building models. So I think that would be 3 things to sum up what you just said.
I like your summaries. Okay, I'll jump through some of the questions because we have many, and I think you guys are touching base on many of the questions that I wanted to ask. But I think we have to ask this one because it's always what people are actually asking. Can you already measure the return on investment? Is there any way to judge if really implementing these AI solutions is saving you money? And are the companies that you're working at or you're collaborating with measuring this ROI? Or it's something that people are talking about, but not really putting a lot of pressure on? I mean, I got these questions from my clients, like how much money can we save when you guys implement AI? So I was getting these questions. Sometimes I had to try to, create this business case. It was very hard because then were also mistakes and hiccups, and we had to invest extra hours to really correct something that AI did and was wrong. And it was a very difficult task, right? But I want to hear your perspective. Chris, you wanted to start.
Can I go first for this time?
Yeah, go for it.
So I really wanted to touch base with this one because I think that's one of the most common misconceptions, understanding that AI is no different tool than anything else that we're using. And of course, any company, any CEO, any founder would ask for what's the ROI of this project.
Of course.
So what we did with Bartek Pucek is we try to work on this framework that we call AI product canvas. So basically a business model canvas, but adopted to AI projects. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to ask what's the ROI. And there is one difference between AI projects and the different and the classic project, the other projects, because AI is progressing so far. So what we had 1 year ago, let's say for LLMs, image generations, or even processing the data when it comes to the cost of tokens, is rapidly changing every year. So what I advise to my clients is the ROI needs to be maximum 2 years. So normally in IT project, we base on calculations 4 to 5 years. But because of AI, the cost of tokens is decreasing so far. So I see many clients are hesitant. Shouldn't we wait until it's even cheaper? Shouldn't we wait until it's even faster? So I say, even better. So if you are not sure that the ROI of your let's say $100,000 would be given back, would be repaid within no more than 2 years, do not start a project now. Wait for the technology to be better.
That's a very direct answer. What's your take on it? I don't know who would like to speak about that part. Maybe
I'll join. I would ask a different kind of question if I heard to point on ROI, and then I'll tell you just a few examples from my world. First, I think it's, of course, depending on how much you can afford, what's your scale, the answer will vary. But in general, I think the question should be, can you afford not to invest in AI? Because what's actually alternative? It's like resistance is futile. It's not a fad, as we heard from Bartek. This is my mindset. This is not the next normal. This is the new normal. So those who ignore or are dissatisfied with the expected ROI might basically be dead in the water in a couple of years, unless they have unlimited access to low-cost top talents in technology and automation. Last time I checked, very few companies are in this situation. We have a different case. It's a talent war, especially in our industry. And every automation, every optimization, everything that help in productivity is just a rocket fuel for growth. So if you can have a rocket fuel, would you really switch to the cheap fuel and the traditional speed, especially when your competitors are accelerating? If we look at what is fueling the economy in the States and how we approach in Europe, I think this is the question on ROI. Sounds like a very European kind of question to ask. I don't think there is that many discussions on this area in the States. So I would rephrase the question. And if I look at the expectancy of returns, of course, when in my field on monetization, it's like super monetization sensitive area where each little tiny area where you can optimize is giving you payout time, which is of course super attractive. So frankly, there is very little space or time we invest in discussing ROI because it's super attractive. And if we look also things like productization, if you compare the time needed to recruit top talents 5 years ago during the COVID and today, if you look at demographic changes, the question is, it's better ROI comparing to what? What are the alternatives? What gives you better ROI? If someone has way better, more attractive ideas to invest with higher ROI than AI, I'm all ears.
I love this perspective. It's like the world is changing. We just have to follow, right? Like if we don't, and as Bartek said, I know Bartek, if you want to add something here, like yeah, this thing gonna stay with us.
Yeah, it will stay, but if I may I add something to this discussion? Because
Yeah, and you guys also can disagree, like I love that Chris
well,
this like
so far I do agree with everything we say, but I'm here with my friend with the newest version of advanced ChatGPT voice control. Have you tried it? I mean, the new one, the one that came up just a few days ago. Did you have a chance?
I haven't
So
yet.
let me ask my friend, okay, if it will work. Hey, I got a question. I'm talking to my customers about generative AI benefits, and they often ask me question about, okay, so how to measure return on investment? What would you say to such people?
To jest bardzo dobre pytanie. W przypadku generatywnej AI zwrot z inwestycji...
Sorry. No. I want you to speak English, not Polish.
Got it. In the case of generative AI, measuring ROI can be approached in a few ways. Look at the time and resources saved by automating tasks, the increase in productivity, or even the boost in customer satisfaction.
Okay, I got a stupid question. Can you measure it with a calculator or need a spreadsheet? I mean, what's the procedure? I mean, what you should start with? What do you need to measure anything if it goes for return on investment?
That's not a stupid question at all. You can definitely use a spreadsheet to measure ROI. Start by identifying the costs associated with implementing the AI solution.
Yeah, I know. Identify costs, okay? But how can I identify costs? Maybe I should, I don't know, maybe map my processes at the beginning and start with some base just to have a benchmark, and then try to identify the levels of optimization possible, identify the gaps that could be filled with technology. What do you think about it? Is it a good idea?
Absolutely. That's a solid approach. Mapping your processes gives you a clear picture of your current operations and helps you establish a baseline. From there, you can identify areas where AI could...
May I interrupt you for a second? Just a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, maybe my friends will have a question to you. Eva, what would you like to ask?
Of course, I'm ready for Eva's question. What would she like to know?
I mean, I think I'm more curious about your perspective on it still than the AI.
Eva, I don't have personal preferences or feelings since I'm an AI. I'm here to help you with information, answer questions, and chat about all sorts of topics. What else are you curious about?
Okay, just wanted to show you this short demonstration because this is something that changed a lot. Like several days ago, they updated the interaction with voice, because we talk about prompting, we talk about feeding the data to the conversational models. We're talking about the skills you need. You are not now so far from being an expert, having your mobile phone and a set of headphones in your pocket, because walking to your customer, to a meeting with your board, you can ask some questions and prepare. You can you can upload, just like Veena said, upload your data, upload your information, the way you communicate with your customer, all description of the products that you are now working on, and some strategies and marketing campaigns that you are working on right now, and then continue this conversation with the model. It's getting so affordable and easy right now, and that's how it will change. Veena has a question. Sorry, I just wanted to show you this because this is incredible, and everyone can use it now.
I think that's amazing from the perspective of having your own almost like personalized coach, right? Who can prep you for this panel. Like I won't lie, like I'm using generative AI to prepare for these panels. Like I'm always bouncing the questions that I want to ask with either Claude or ChatGPT, and it's not something I'm doing on my own. So
but this
I
is
wanted
different,
to
you know,
share
because
that.
before this, like 5 days ago, you had the voice communication with ChatGPT that worked like you were talking and it was changed to text. Then the text converted to text. The text was sent to the model just like you were typing, but it was just speech to text conversion. It was sent to the model. Now I'm really talking, interrupting, arguing. And this is totally different. It's like a phone conversation. So I really encourage you guys to give it a try. Have you tried it, Chris or Veena?
Veena, give
Yeah.
I'm waiting for your shout because I see your hand is raised for quite some time.
Sorry
No.
about that. I wasn't sure when to put it down. I tried the voice activation last week. I'm not sure if it's been any different in the last few days, but last week going absolutely nuts with it. But I just want to kind of go back to Eva's question on the ROI and just adding to some of the things that was said. And I think so many great points. So there's ways of looking at it, right? There's ROI, there's cost savings, and then there's kind of like a way of looking at optimization and innovation. Like, with my current experience with some of the smaller businesses that I'm working with right now, there's definitely been cost savings, I can tell you. Like, this example of a copywriter from having to spend 6,000 USD a month on copywriting, that's now $20 a month using Claude, right? So that's helped the business actually to some extent. Legal fees, of course, not having to go back and forth with a lawyer, just trying to understand something or just trying to make very basic, simple tweaks to a contract. But then there are other ways of looking at it, like the ability to launch things at a faster rate, where before you might have to wait a week or two for marketing assets to be produced. Now you literally can produce and approve marketing assets within 48 hours if the team's on standby. But that aside, that's just business and go, go, go. What I now even more intrigued by is how do I look at hiring individuals for my teams who are comfortable and apt with AI to enhance their job? Because, a lot of times I'd like to work with teams who have that 80-20 rule, the 80 rule of business as usual, and then the 20% rule of optimization and innovation. So if I can hire more people who are, who love pairing their work with AI, then therefore you can get your business as usual job done faster than normal because AI can help speed up some of your tasks. And then now when we're looking at optimization and innovation, you've got a brainstorming partner in AI, you've got an assistant in AI, and there's so many things that, you've got a fact-checking tool with AI, you've got a creativity tool with AI. So I'm excited for seeing how people are going to incorporate AI into their own skill set and specialization for efficient output, productivity output, and then looking at innovation and optimization at a faster rate. A lot of teams, like I said, can get so caught up in launching business as usual. And then before you know it, you've got all these leaky buckets in your business and nobody's got time to plug them. So how do we now have a nice balance that like every week, 80% of your time, maybe now even less, goes to business as usual? And now can we increase the percentage of fixing leaky buckets, optimization, and scaling efforts with that?
I love that perspective. It touches based on the next very important question that I want you guys to answer. And if Chris, you will want to add something on the ROI, please do it.
I just wanted to just comment on what on the demo of Bartosz, because I think it's worth for us to just have a brief comment on it.
Yeah.
So of course I'm very impressed with everything that LLMs has been doing, and I had my little part of work that I helped to co-create ChatGPT 2 in version 2. But then still the answers are pretty generic. They're just like consuming a shake, like, this protein shakes that you eat. And I don't personally imagine, eventually that we end up eating just protein shakes and all this,
Some people
food
think so. Okay.
And I think that's still, we are very far away from getting the job done until we truly enable complex agents to act in our name. And to do that, it's not a technical problem. We will face the same difficulties as we have with autonomous vehicles. There's no problem for us, from data science, machine learning perspective, that we turn all the vehicles to be autonomous. But there are some problems with accessing the data. So let's say Allegro would like to streamline that. Everything is answered by chatbots. It is possible now. But there are some edge cases that are they're quite difficult to handle. McDonald's, huge corporation, very simple task. People give burgers. They test it out, so they drive-thrus are optimized by AI. Super simple thing, until people start ordering ice cream with bacon. And that's the moment where LLMs are totally lost. And they shut the test after a month because people are way too creative. And that's the edge cases are so common. And that's our issue. And another one is accessing the data. So we basically, with CyberSec, we know how to close. So we could make robots, in theory, agents, to run our campaigns, generate photos, generate copywriting. Everything in theory is possible. But we do not want, unless for now, to access the data, and we don't know how to do it. So I see lots and lots of obstacles. Just I wanted to say that even though it is super impressive as we hear it, if we want to dig deeper, it's super difficult to process difficult tasks in my perspective.
But Chris, if you feed, as you know, when you ask generic question, you receive generic response. When you ask generic question to like ChatGPT without feeding the model with your particular specific data from your company, like sales data or some.
I got your point. Well, so I give you an example what I'm truly working on right now. That's a super complex. So basically, if you go to the doctor for your 15 minutes visit, 10 minutes on average in Europe is spent by the doctor by the computer, writing your documentation, writing prescriptions. That's hell. We want more patient doctor time. So we give doctors the ACR detection tools. So as they are having their conversation, we are trying to input the data. But of course, the amount of data trained in LLMs with proper medical data is quite not enough. So we put lots and lots of dictionary with all the proper medical expressions, etc. And we'll spend millions of euros to train that. And hopefully in a couple of years, we'll have this partly done. So these are the real issues we're trying, and we're so far, and I dig my mind in so many complex projects. Like I'm helping for people as they choose Netflix and they're overwhelmed with this number of choices, that actually someone is asking like 3 questions, like, what's your mood today? Are you watching with your wife or on your own? Or like, are you more into comedy and stuff? So you're not overwhelmed with these choices. And these things, as they seem technically super easy, and I have number of teams that I'm working on as a scientist, that when we go into practicality of super simple things, they're so hell difficult when you try to implement the real world problems. Sorry for that. I just wanted to mention.
But because, guys, the time is passing, and I know I can't keep you here for the whole day, although this discussion could really last. I wanted to come back to this question about people. I loved what Veena said about the profile of people that she loves to have on the team, spending 80% on business as usual and 20% on like automation, innovation. That's a great perspective. Like I do share it. It changed a lot in my business when I understood most people need to have the process orientation. But I want to hear you out. Like, what kind of people do you need right now in the businesses? Let's try to focus on the e-commerces and businesses that actually sell products, because that should be the base of this conversation. Like, how do you choose the people for your teams if you have in mind this AI absorption? So what's your take on it? What would you add to what Veena said?
Well, I can just add very briefly. So I run about 6 projects in parallel, 10 people each on average. So usually I look for people who are subject matter experts in the field, in this case, e-commerce marketing, but they have at least minimal knowledge on how AI works. And it was mentioned in this discussion that AI is a way of thinking. And I think, honestly, it's much easier to train someone how machine learning is working, the basics of data science. You can learn this in over 6 months. To be a subject matter in e-commerce, I don't think you can do it in less than 2, 3, 4 years. So I think our approach, like for you, Ewa, as a CEO of your company, would be actually to make your people learn a lot of data science, machine learning basics, so they understand how to encompass this power. Because if you take a machine learning specialist to teach this person how the e-commerce, I don't think you can do it in half a year.
True. I mean, I also do share this idea of T-shaped people who should stand on one leg of deep specialization and have a perspective on more subjects that are related to this particular field that they are operating within. And I think the AI became like another bucket of skills that those people should have. They should know how to work with AI, and they should know what are the tools available. I do share that, and thank you for it. And Marcin or Bartek, do you have any other cool tips on what kind of people companies should look for if they want to embrace AI and what comes with it?
Marcin?
I think, first of all, it's the curious people who are unfinished, and they have manageable ego, which is they're open, just like have mindset of growth. It has nothing to do with education, with the generation, gender. It's completely irrelevant. As long as you understand the basics of training, what can be trained, what can be optimized, what can be automated, this can really unlock a completely different trajectory of each organization growth. And then ideally, if you have a friendly competition, you can have people in finance with turning forecasting into super forecasting, people in customer experience, where they're able to really automate this calls and use solutions, sometimes scary like Klarna did, but super efficient if you really need to scale up your business, and across every other function. So this is about also culture of not being the fear-based culture, and usually people, independent on the age and position, might be afraid of any change, or God forbid, revolution, if they fear there is a loss behind it. But if they instill the security that needs to come from top leadership, it's an opportunity, and it can be, as I said, the rocket fuel of growth. And if you are able to incentivize these first easy wins, when you spend a little, learn a lot, scale up, encourage others, and build a fundamental understanding, then great things might happen. In fact, I don't think there is an alternative.
I love the comment on curious and open people. Really, that seems so obvious, and we think everyone is like that, but really, it's not always
That's
true.
tough. Yeah.
No,
I want to add to that, actually. I think, at the end of the day, the specialists you need to hire, but it's the type of person that you're kind of looking for. Curious is one. I always look for individuals who are curious. I always look for detail-oriented individuals, like, eagle eye, hawks, like spot things. And the third one is the mentality of hire for attitude and train for skill. At the end of the day, as Marcin was saying as well, it's like the resiliency of the individual, the people who are not intimidated by change. It's always the attitude of the individual that you're hiring. And then, but that's a separate HR conversation topic that we would have for one of your other online things. Like, how do you now what are the screening processes that you would put in place to hire these people? But those three things are just the same, and then you pair them with AI, and then you've got a somewhat better optimized individual.
And Bartek, like, what's your take on the people?
Well, I think most of the most important things has been said right now. But just to build something on top of that, I'll just share my impression of a conversation with a customer I had last week. It's one of the biggest private production companies in Poland, and I met with their sales team representatives. We were talking about artificial intelligence, and during the break, they approached me and they said, "Hey, we get so much work, and we are being paid for selling, not for learning, that we just don't have motivation to hop on some courses and trainings and lose our time on experimenting with new tools when we've got so many operational tasks to do and to complete to get our money." So this is exactly proving what Marcin and Veena said, that you should look for people who are not thinking only through the perspective of the commission, and they are really eager to learn. And if I'm looking for people right now to my team, the first thing is just talk to them about their approach to learning. If there are people, Marcin said a really beautiful phrase: people who are not complete, who are not finished, right? Yeah. So people who are not who do not think that they've got like 15-20 years experience in their expertise and that they can build on top of that. No, this is the time where they have unlearned some things and make space on learning new things. So I think this is crucial.
Okay, thank you. And because the time has come to start finishing this panel, I want to ask this final question, and I think Chris already kind of answered it at the beginning, which is about the future. Like, what are you guys predicting? What's going to have the biggest impact on e-commerce businesses, other businesses? And you said that it's going to be agents talking to agents. So basically, I will be here, not sitting. There will be my phone talking to you guys. You guys will have your phones, and going to be a panel discussion, and we're going to later just read the notes, right? And done deal. Like, I'm doing wing foiling, which is my latest hobby, or anything else at the same time. What else? What else you guys see? Like, what's coming?
This is Eva, but this is something really, really practical, actually. I mean,
I know.
what we said at the beginning, I mean, it might be controversial when you look at it now from perspective of 2024, and you think about, phone talking to a phone or agent to agent. But actually, if, for example, if you got got some law problems and you hire a lawyer, he becomes your agent, and the other side also has a lawyer. So you don't want to be part of this conversation. You just want to brief your lawyer what's important for you, and then the lawyers will do the job. You pay for it, and then you just get the result, and you can focus on things that are important for you. And I think we should look at the agent to agent scenario from this perspective, that there are some parts of our life and our job, not only in terms of e-commerce, that might be done with agent that has all the knowledge needed to take decisions on behalf of us. And we can focus on building relations, on making teams that perform, or building relations with our customers, creating new business strategies and things that need real human creativity. And agents will take care of everything that's like, back and forth communication and things that might be done based on some kind of, algorithms and fundamentals. That's something that will happen eventually. And I'm looking forward to it, just to get rid of things that I just don't have to be involved in.
Veena, Marcin, what's the future? What do you guys think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's that extreme future that we see. I think kind of hitting singularity, and one day everything that you need is there, and you can be in multiple meetings at the same time because your agents are doing it for you, or your best marketing specialist is launching three or four things at the same time. But I think also from the perspective of, if you look at human talent and you look at mental health, right? So like, I think with AI as well, if you look at people having a zone of incompetence, a zone of competence, and a zone of genius, AI is really there to take things like that keep you in your unhappy state, which is when you're operating in your zone of incompetence and your zone of competence, like take you out of that so that you can truly be in your zone of genius. And then you're really doing the things that you love, and then you're living in joy. And when you are so happy because though you are in your zone of genius all the time, then you are, not only being more productive and happier in like real work situations, but then you're probably a better individual to these people that are closest around you. So hopefully I'm thinking the future of AI is not going to solve our mental health problems, but the things that burden us, that cause unnecessary anxiety and stress can be kind of out of the picture. And so we can all be living in our zone of genius.
I love that perspective. And Marcin, some of your final words.
Think about three scenarios. I don't know the future. I don't know what's around the corner, but I can imagine three things that might change a lot how we operate professionally and personally. I can imagine a virtual twin on Zoom that has monetized premium features you can upgrade for hundreds of $1,000s, and you become a superpower. So no one wants your person. Everyone will just love to have your virtual twin on every call because you may become a problem solver super machine with emotional intelligence that Adam Grant would love to have. Second thing, imagine about virtual spouse, because tender attraction will one day expire and there will always be the deficit. So imagine a virtual lover that is just you just keep on talking and no
You're
human
going
being is
far
able
with
to
this
match.
one.
And there was the last one, which is very scary, which is teens looking for friendships and soulmates, which they cannot find. You can design a virtual friend that is unmatched. And so this can move us into the notion that we might need to be more careful and responsible in how we design the future. More careful, more attention is needed than ever.
I love that dark, this dark thought from your opinion. Thank you, guys. I mean, we have to finish, unfortunately. Although I think we have to have a second talk about AI because, oh my God, this topic is just so wide. Let me just give like a 1-minute summary, and we're going to be posting summary of on LinkedIn. So guys, wait for it. But we talked about AI. We talked that it's going to stay. We talked about what people are afraid of. The most they're afraid that it's actually going to replace their jobs, which is totally untrue. It's going to move us to our genius zones. That's what Veena beautifully said. It's going to help us to actually get rid of the stuff that we don't want to do. And focus on the most important when it comes to work, to collaboration, to strategy, and sometimes to life as well. And if you want to build teams that embrace AI, it's like you should look for people who are, I think Marcin said it beautifully, not complete. They're constantly look for something to add. They look for a space to change, to innovate, but they should also be actually detailed oriented, because we know that AI is great, but Chris pointed out to us that it's just so much work to be done to really create tools that are precise and that can help us with difficult tasks, especially in the medical field, for example. Like there's so much work ahead of us. Like it's helping out, but there's still space. So we need to be curious, we need to be implementing, but we need to be checking. And I think, Chris, you were giving so many good summaries here, and you said that work is really about planning and about execution and then testing. And, we still should be testing, and we still should be checking if AI did a good job, because we're still not in a moment where it can be replacing us here or anywhere else to this 100%. So thank you, guys. It was an amazing discussion. I loved it. I will probably have you back for another one because, as I said, this is important topic. Plus, as you all said, like it's changing so quickly that probably in 6 months from now we can have a discussion about AI, and you guys will say totally different things.